Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Well, it's probably afternoon to some people. Um, it's 10:15 where I'm at on the West Coast, and I'll apologize in advance. I don't have any eyeliner or mascara on in case I um, do something that fluid drips from my eyes and creates stuff to run. But yeah, so I'm checking in. I didn't come yesterday because I was having a pretty emotional and mentally challenging day when I found out I didn't get the job that I interviewed for the other day. It was kind of it it depressed me. Great. I mean, I'm already depressed, but it broke my spirit. Actually, went and got some alcohol, which I shouldn't even be spending money on because I have hardly no money. But yeah, yesterday was just too icky for me to make an appearance, and I do apologize. Um, But in the meantime, as you saw on my thumbnail, I said I'm going to break my own rules today. Well, first of all, I talked the other day about not trying not to be controversial and not get involved in a lot of drama and soap operas and all that kind of stuff. However, at the same time, I did say that Stephanie Hutchison is not safe from me because she is one of the reasons that I started this channel. With the whole Mike Render attacking Miriam Francis and Alex at Down the Rabbit Hole News. Um, and that's kind of what triggered me because at that time they were, that whole snowball was essentially calling those of us online as essentially being useless keyboard warriors and fleas and all that kind of stuff, that we had no impact and or our impact was damaging and all kinds of stuff. I mean, you those of you that follow that community know. So here in a minute I am going to break my rule of not being controversial and touch on a couple of things that, as uh, Marilyn would say, burn my biscuits. Shout out to Marilyn. Coffee, Cults, and Crafts. Yeah. Um, Anywho, uh, my dog is, she might, no, 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 no. Come here, come here. Excuse me, not my dog, my therapist. She's trying to go after treats that I have sitting on the other side of me. That's how I pay my therapist, by the way. It works. If you have a fur therapist, a therapist that has fur, treats work in lieu of payment, in lieu of money. Thank goodness. um, so first, I want to touch on the whole job thing. Yes, I did get an email yesterday morning saying, "Yeah, nah, enjoyed interviewing you, but we went with somebody else." No, like I said in previous lives, I have never experienced being out of work for so long and having such a hard time securing a legitimate interview. And then when I do get a legitimate interview, um, and I think I'm a very, very strong candidate, not even being considered. Well, being considered, but not being a fit, and someone else is. I want to know what those are. How I want feedback. How how did they interview, and what did their resume look like that I could learn from? That would help me get the next job that I interview for. Which, by the way, I do have an interview this afternoon locally here at Silver Mountain Resort. There is a ski resort in our town. Pays kind of crappy, but it's better than nothing considering after next week I will have nothing. um, so I do have an interview with them this afternoon as a reservation agent for Silver Mountain Resorts. And the person that called me within minutes of me putting in my application, which was kind of cool. And also, she knows me. She used to work for the same employer I used to work for, so she was familiar with my name. So that's a good sign. I also got contacted by ZipFizz. They do displays at Costco. Now, the closest Costco to me is about 45 minutes away. Um, and I'd be, doing the demos, and however much Costco sells that day, how many boxes or whatever, is attributed, the word, to the success of the salesperson at the display, and presenting the product. Um, I actually got that job offer, and it's obviously part-time, and obviously only, an 8-hour shift, maybe on a Thursday and a Sunday or a Saturday or whatever. Um, I got that call hours before I got the local call from Silver Mountain Resorts, or yeah, Silver Mountain Resorts. Um, and I said yes, because I'm not going to turn down anything if it's legal and not a scam. And I do like the product Zip Fizz. I do not tolerate sugars, so any kind of energy, and I don't drink a lot of energy drinks. But Zip Fizz is a product that I've used in the past, and that I usually, especially when I was at work, to make, like, put in blended drinks and all that kind of stuff, to give me a little kick to get me through the day, because I wouldn't have the sugar crashes and problems breaking down the sugars. So I believe in the product. I would have no problem presenting or selling the product. However, if I get this job here locally and I don't have to drive 45 minutes to put up a display and all that kind of stuff, and not know how much I'm going to make on any given basis, I might bow out of the Zip Fizz. um, or if the schedule's aligned, maybe I would do both. So that's always a consideration. Um, so that, and again, I told you that I was accepted about a week or two ago on a local foundation, called Silver Valley Pride, or SV Pride, um, and have been doing some educational videos for them, and for future Pride events in the Valley. So that's been fun. And uh, let's see what else is going on that way. Oh, so I did start a GoFundMe, and I'm going to put it in the chat here, because a few of the people in the SPTV community highly suggested that I start a GoFundMe. I put it in the chat. Oh, Flea Factory, sorry. I'm sorry you didn't get the job. I know how disappointing that is. Oh my God, it broke my spirit. It broke my spirit, because I'm so close to having absolutely nothing. I mean, I'm already behind on all my bills, being threatened by my landlord. Um, could potentially have a car repoed. Um, you know, uh, I've got things worked out with the electric company, and so far with my internet provider, that's kind of dicey from week to week. Um, but the house and the car payments are, my biggest worries, especially the landlord. She could kick me out with a 30-day notice. So I was crying. And admittedly, I got on a lifeboat today and threw myself under the bus on Tommy's stream on the lifeboat. If none of you know the lifeboat, um, if you have any kind of addictions, or something similar, and it doesn't matter if it's smoking to crack, or anything in between. It's a community, an online community on YouTube, that Tommy Scoville manages. He's the admiral of the lifeboat, and it's where people can just come together, and it's all about harm reduction, and you know just being supportive. I think it's one of the and I lurk more than I comment, um, on the lifeboat. But being a person that has had food addictions, and struggles with alcohol addictions, it it's a community that's very open and truthful. They You don't have to pretend. I remember going to, and I know some people will probably unsubscribe to me by me saying this, but I can't go to AA. When I was younger, and struggling with alcohol problems, I would go to AA meetings and come out feeling worse than going in because I felt it was so cliquish. It wasn't necessarily the program because I never stayed for the program, but I felt that the participants and the people that were going to AA, the group itself, felt like a high school clique. And I always, and because I'm introverted, I don't go out of my way to approach people unless I'm in a work environment or a social environment surrounded by people that I know and trust. Um, so in those scenarios, I couldn't do it. And one of the things I love about the lifeboat is Tommy and his fellow captains um, uh, are very open to discussing pretty much anything that needs to be discussed, and are completely there for one another and supportive of one another, whether you're active in the chat or not. So I just wanted to give a call out to Tommy and the lifeboat, because I was there this morning saying, hey, yesterday I I fell off the wagon and I had a very hard time, and you know, my pride and everything was pretty much shattered yesterday. Um, so that's why I'm not wearing any any eye makeup today, because yesterday, uh, if I talk about yesterday, I get shaky because I don't like the fact that I failed myself. I feel very good being clear headed, and not being, you're not playing with the frisbee right now. I'm sorry, therapist, not right now. Hey, I'll give you a treat if you come back over on this side. Yeah, yeah. There you go. There you go. Num nums, num nums. Um, so um, that's the update on the work thing. Um, Again, this afternoon I will be going to the local Silver Valley. I keep calling it Silver Mountain Resorts. That is the ski lodge and resort. Um, so I'll be going there this afternoon. And just in how fast they responded, and the fact that I know the person that called me and set up the interview. Fingers crossed, because if that one blows up in my face and it's not even at the level of jobs that I'm really looking for, but if even that one isn't, that I'm not good enough for that one, then I'm really going to be shattered. Just really. Um, so going to the GoFundMe, let me give you a little experience on that. I put it on my LinkedIn. Big mistake. Because you're supposed to share it on your social platforms. I have not put it on my Facebook. Um, quite frankly, because there's a lot of people, and I know this sounds horrible, there's a lot of people that are in my former employer, connected to them and stuff like that. Um, I don't want to start that gossip. Oh, look, Edie's got a GoFundMe. Oh, I thought she worked for Mark Dodge in Louisiana, and they're so great, because they don't know the whole story, because I haven't told them anything. It's none of their business. And if I post a GoFundMe with all that stuff out there, then yeah, it's kind of a pride thing. I don't want my former employment knowing anything about me. And my son doesn't even let them know what's going on with me. He's very vague when they ask questions, because he works there. But so it's not on my Facebook, and I don't really, I'm only on Twitter to spy on Stefani Hutchison and that group of people. So I don't post anything on Twitter. I'm not really on Instagram or any of those. So I did post on LinkedIn. And you know what kind of responses I got? A bunch of foreign names. I'm not going to say of what nationality, but a bunch of foreign names that are hitting me up to help me get my link in front of real donors and real people so I can hit my campaign initiatives. And I'm like, did you not look at my GoFundMe? My GoFundMe exists because I'm struggling financially. I could lose my house and car today. I mean, every day I get slammed by my landlord and threatened by my landlord in text messages, and I keep making promises that may or may not come true just to keep her from kicking me out. So yeah, it's all of these sketchy, scammy people that essentially probably just want to buy mailing lists or email lists of supposed donors. It would be like a YouTuber buying fake subscribers. And I'm like, how are you going to do that for me when I don't have a dime? I mean, I've got like $50 in my bank account for real. For real. I've got like $50 in my bank account because I got my unemployment check yesterday, went and bought groceries, and that's what's left over. I'm not paying for it. I mean, I need money. I don't need to spend money. And it kills me that I even bought alcohol yesterday. So, I mean, they came out of the woodwork within seconds. They came out of the woodwork on LinkedIn. Oh, let me help you with this. Let me help you with that. You need to do this, and giving me links that I won't click on because they're, oh, you need to post it here and you need to do classifieds here, and I can help you with this if you follow my strategy. And like, do you not get it? How many times do I have to tell you? Leave me alone. I I need money. I don't need to be sketchy about getting supposed donors, and who's going to pay you in the end. I know. It was crazy. But wait, don't you want your inheritance from a Nigerian prince? I have so many I have not claimed. Oh my God, I've gotten those. I have gotten those. Oh yeah, and isn't there one of those Nigerian stories where, oh, my house is in the United States, but I'm in Nigeria, and if you just do this, this, and this for me, yeah, I get those, yeah. And the sad thing is, LinkedIn is an okay place to find open job opportunities. Their database isn't bad. I don't use it. I fall off using it now and then and bounce around between Indeed and ZipRecruiter and Swooped and all these other ones. But LinkedIn used to be so professional. That's where professionals gathered and shared information. Now gosh, I mean, most of the sketchy job opportunities that I've been hit up with, if not all of them, have been when I've responded to something on LinkedIn. So and I know it's not LinkedIn's fault, so to speak. Although I haven't really checked into, do they have a process in place where supposed employers and professionals on their platform can be reported for, being scam related or, that type of thing. Cora, do you want? All right, if it'll give me just a second, I'm going to give her frisbee. All righty here. If you sit down and just chew on it, but if you cause problems, I'll take it away. By the way, don't ever ask me to throw a frisbee to a dog in a yard. It'll end up in somebody else's yard. I'm just not good at it. Not good. I can only go low. If I do low and close to the ground, then I can keep it within my own vicinity. But if I do anything that's any higher, chances are it's going to end up in a neighbor's yard over the fence. I'm not good at throwing a frisbee. So we have to go to like big parks or whatever, where there's no danger of that. Okay, so I think that's everything that I wanted to touch on about the job, and that I started the GoFundMe. I really set my campaign level low at like 3,500. I know that sounds high for some people, but that would pretty much somewhat catch me up and get me out of danger. And obviously the main focus is to get my name out there to say, hey, if you have a job position, or know of an employer that's looking for somebody, that also is a focus of the GoFundMe very clearly. So that's why I didn't set it up like, oh, I want 20 grand so I don't have to work at all. I just need enough to get out of hot water with my landlord and current situation. That's it. So moving on from that, let's talk about breaking my rules about not being controversial. I won't, and I try not to, and hopefully won't break my rules about talking about people within the SPTV crowd of protesters and active people in the community having soap operas and he said, she said kind of, arguments. I kind of don't want to go there. I don't think it's productive. Um, and a lot of it should be handled between those people involved. Um, and if there's legal issues in regards to bullying or false accusations, then they should get, some aspect of legal representation. I don't fault anybody for that. Now, the SA traumas that are going on, I feel completely different about. I'm not going to go controversial that way today. That's not my focus. And there's a lot of people handling that in a very effective and caring way because they know one another and are already supporting one another. So they don't really need my 2 cents at this point. But I feel that does need to be discussed. That does, and the reason being because apparently what's going on is a very serious, serial, felonious situation. The fact that there's more than and potentially up to 10-ish already known victims of improper behavior of a sexual nature. It makes me wonder how much of it was going on outside of the community through other sources. Is the perpetrator using other formats like TikTok or Facebook or Twitter or Pinterest or OnlyFans or, whatever? If he is so bold as to aggressively go after people within a community that know one another, how much more was he doing it in communities where he wasn't known by a group? And that I wholly support that being discussed because that perpetrator needs to be focused on. If not, and in a very, very careful way, because everything's alleged, which is why I won't say any names, because I don't know the whole story. I can only speak from what I watch, and I'm not involved in the situation, so I'm not going to name names, and probably everybody knows who I'm speaking of. But you have to be careful. Definitely be careful what you say in regards and naming names, because everything's alleged at this point. Using the proper verbiage is very important, but also it's not good to sweep those kind of things under the rug when there could be potential other future victims if things aren't stopped, and things aren't discussed. So that's my opinion on that. And I think it was yesterday morning or the night before, I released, and I had said in my last live day before yesterday, I have no problems talking about Stefani Hutchison. None. And I have to be careful with the words I choose so as not to be libelous. And I had mentioned that I was thinking about creating some content, and I created a video short on YouTube, which was very positive in terms of, hey, Stefani, let's get on the same page. Not being snarky, not being mean, not being aggressively rude, but saying, hey, this infighting is not helping the movement. Let's all come together, in a very positive, come on, we don't have to be friends. Let's just work together. And the reason I went that way, because I just wanted to see what would happen. If, what kind of views the video would get. And if there would be any responses. Now, I did get one unsubscribe from it, It could have just fallen off because YouTube's weird, or it might have been an intentional unsubscribe because of the subject matter. But I did notice that saying anything positive in regards to Stephanie Hutchison uh, did not get quite the views that anything that I say that is snarky about her does. Um, it got some likes and it got some views, but it didn't pop up as quickly as, anything more critical. And I've only made 2 other videos about her, so I don't have all the data. But so I released that video, and then lo and behold, she just continues to double down on, because like I said, I stalk these people on Twitter under another name. I don't interact necessarily. I might thumbs down some stuff, and maybe there's been a time or two where I've, said something generic as a question, but I haven't. I don't interact. I just go there for the information, the news, what's going on, how they feel. There's something seriously wrong with her. The vindictiveness is over the top. Oh my God, that was what. Okay, so Aaron's already addressed line by line that whole last thing that came out like what, 20 hours ago or whatever. But I want to share something where I got ticked off because, I don't know Aaron, and Aaron, yes, he's inspiring. He's not one that has encouraged me to start a channel. He's not behind me in my channel. I'm not of the cult of Aaron or Aarontology. Liz and Reese. Well, Reese didn't tell me to start a channel. Liz Ferris is the one that suggested I start a channel, and I've already addressed that. She's the one that sparked it. And then I was very motivated by Reese's authenticity, and then also Susie and Ona, Nora and Natalie and Marilyn. Those are my biggest, off the top of my head, inspirations in that community. One day we'll talk about the SPTV community and the backpacking community and the van life community, or, paranormal community. I have so many things that I watch, go down holes that way. True crime. But okay, let me see if I've never shared my screen. So let me see if I know how to share my screen, because there's 2 things that really ticked me off with what she said. Do I know how to share this? I don't know how to share anything. All right, I'm just going to read it because I don't know how to share stuff. I'll have to learn that. It says in one part of Stephanie's little diatribe, let me see, is that the one I want, or is this? Well, one's at the beginning, one's at the end, and I don't know if I have them in order. So here's what personally offended me when she's talking about Aaron. His behavior is dangerous because it weakens the collective effort to expose Scientology's abuses. The collective effort. Okay, well, I made that video about her saying, hey, this infighting is hurting the collective effort. And yeah, okay, so she's claiming that Aaron's the one doing it. But his videos about Leah, about her, Stephanie, about Mike, they've all been as a defensive posture. He's not been the one to open these wounds and open these doors. It's been a trigger. It's been triggered by having to defend himself. And it goes on to say his actions divide allies, exploit victims, undermine credibility, and provide Scientology with tools to defend itself. To effectively expose and combat Scientology's harmful practices, unity, credible evidence, and a focused approach are essential. That's kind of what I said in my little quickie. That she is obviously, yeah, working against. These are elements that Aaron's bad behavior severely compromised. It's time for him to get out of this space entirely, and for all of us to get back to work fighting the Church of Scientology. So this is one of the areas I get offended, and I'll get on the other part where she kind of says the same thing. And this is one of the reasons I started my channel. She's essentially devaluing not only Aaron, but those of us that are trying to help people get out of cults, to discuss cult like behaviors and traumas, um, and support one another. Does she not see that? Does she, is she not aware that there's 200 plus creators on sptv.space that are working together? Does she not realize that prior to the TikTokers that started protesting in LA, there were protests going on at any of the Scientology specific orgs and you know places and land bases and fronts, front groups and poop bells and, and that type of thing before the TikTokers, who for the most part are never ends. Before all that, and before Aaron saw all that and started getting the online community to start supporting those never ends, and then those people came out and started helping them and shutting down recruitment centers and shutting down people trying to walk up and get personality tests because they were sharing truths. Is she not aware of all that? How has he or any of us hurt that process? You would think that a couple years ago, none of this existed. And if it didn't exist today, how many more people would be in Scientology because of it? It might not be getting a ton of people out, because that's hard in any religion, any high control group, any cult to get out. But it has certainly prevented new bodies being routed in. And her sickness is not allowing her to see how she herself, forget Aaron, how she herself is working against that, and how she herself has not contributed to the positive and proactive approaches that has been going on outside of her vindictiveness. Let me see. I'm no help. I don't know how to do it either. He brings receipts too. I think so. Flea Factory. Here's my thing. All of us, even before I started a YouTube channel, you know how I saw myself as helping this community or any other, the van lifers that I watch and all that kind of stuff, even if I couldn't monetarily help them, my watching their content, my clicking like and subscribe and give me notifications, my being a loyal viewer of their channel and helping the analytics push it out to more and more and more viewers in that community. That was how I contributed. That was how I helped. And that is more important than anything. It's more important than personally protesting sometimes outside of anywhere. Because if you don't have those of us that are loyal viewers, in the community, you wouldn't have a channel. You wouldn't have something, a foundation. So I think for the most part, even if you're lurking and you're not making a comment, the fact that you're there, the fact that you care about the subject matter, and that you're a loyal viewer, is pretty much enough for me to consider anybody a supporter. Because otherwise, if you didn't support it and you didn't care about the subject, you wouldn't be watching and you wouldn't care. Which goes to freaking Stephanie's comments. Does she not see how many views that Aaron's channel and Nora's channel and Marilyn's channel and Susie's channel, I mean, and Poe's channel, and I mean, I could go on and on and on. Liz's channel, I mean, whether they're big, huge channels or small channels, do they not look at the views and see how many people care about the subject matter and care about supporting the anti-Scientology movement? I, I don't see Stephanie on YouTube creating that community or adding to that community. She's done nothing but badmouth it. And quite frankly, her badmouthing it just helps get more views for everybody involved. Um, mind blown. I'm just saying, mind blown. I don't know if she has, again, she's either a freaking genius and knows how to just maximize on negativity and vindictiveness to build her own, build her own community there on Reddit and there on Twitter. But how is the negativity and those Reddit and Twitter streams, how is that keeping people out of walking into a Scientology testing center or one of their front groups who supposedly help alcohol addicted people or, drug addicted people, from being sucked into their false narratives? How is all the negativity there on Reddit and Twitter help? She's saying Aaron's damaging it. How is she helping it? I want I want her to do an article saying, this is what I'm doing to help the community. This is how I've prevented, and the people that support me have prevented people from walking into a testing center, and how what we're doing and what we're saying about Aaron and Nora and everybody else, that's in the SPTV side of things, how the vindictiveness and the aggression against them has helped keep people going into Scientology. How? Give me the numbers, give me the receipts, show me. If you're going to tear somebody up, then show me what you're doing differently. I mean, seriously, show me what you're doing differently that's helping the community in ways that you say Aaron's hurting it. I'm not, I have never said that Aaron was the one that inspired me. I have watched him for a very long time. Sometimes he annoys me. I mean, sometimes I don't necessarily think, I find him entertaining. I find him valid. I find him knowledgeable and an expert on the subject. And I've watched him for a very, very, very long time. But is he my favorite? No. I've already listed my favorites. If, you know, but am I going to say I think he's human. He's human. But for you to trash these people that are doing great things, even though they're fallible and human, and you're so focused on, I would say I wouldn't have as hard of a time if there weren't so many lies being made up, that there are receipts available to prove as lies and falsifications and false narratives. If you were just saying, all of these documentable events and kept bringing those up and regurgitating, yeah, whatever, you're just focusing on the fact that the person's human and makes mistakes. But when you go so far as to fabricate a storyline and a narrative that could actually be litigious in nature, I don't know. It's gone a whole nother route. Flea Factory. Oh my God, my therapist won't get off my lap. I think being aligned with Mike and Leah makes her feel self-important. So she'd say or do anything to protect those relationships. Yeah, and I kind of get it. I do. I think if you're in a position where you are, see, you made me mess up my table, baby. I think if you're in a position where, and I've been in the position in workplaces let me fix my table. My dog messed it up. Ugh, sorry. Um, where I've been in like work situations where I was maybe part of an executive team or whatever that I flew on the banner of and got accused of flying on the banner of, um, and would defend them to the death in ways that probably hurt me from uh, a professional standpoint in those positions. And that's when I was younger and was very Scotty DOA like, where I was very emotional. Oh, I promised I wouldn't say names, but it wasn't in a controversial manner. um, but I get that. I mean, and so here's the problem. She's in what you say about her being so aligned with Mike and Leah that it's making her feel self-important. Um, and she's doing anything to protect them. She's also not seeing that what she's accusing the community, the SPTV community that follows creators such as Nora and Aaron and the whole kit and caboodle. Marilyn, I think she's attacked Marilyn on occasion. What she's failing to realize in terms of calling everybody, the cult of Aaron and everything is, well, she's obviously, a main leader in the cult of Mike and Leah. I mean, she is not, I think it goes back to what I was saying earlier. She's not self-aware that the accusation she makes against others could certainly be applied to her and those that she is influencing. And the difference is the people that she's attacking can show receipts and can show progress and can show examples of success. Whereas outside of the Aftermath Foundation and the Aftermath show, what have any of them done? And there might be some things, but bring it out. Show us what have, other than the negativity and kicking people around and slurring people and accusing people and calling out their human faults. What have they done? Well, wait a minute. Mike Render wrote a book. Since then, what have they done to help the community and work together, as she's saying, Aaron is negatively influencing, which is why I think there was another quote I wanted to read, which, because I really don't, it's not that I don't care about the rest of her diatribe. Aaron already dealt with it, and I don't know the story, and I'm not involved, and I think he did it very effectively. And I just, I see the stuff that I feel like I'm being judged by when she says it. And the other one was in regards to Aaron, his channel is now flatlining and he's running out of people to attack. But this goes way beyond just him and his obnoxious ego. His behavior is dangerous because it weakens the collective effort to expose Scientology's abuses. His actions divide allies, exploit victims, and undermine credibility, and provide Scientology. Oh, wait a minute. Was that the one I already read? Or did she just... Okay, these elements that Aaron's bad behavior severely compromise. It's time for him to get out of the space entirely. That might have been the one that I already read. Oh, did I bring up? Oh, that's the problem. I didn't bring up the second one. So here, let me bring up the second one. I was repeating the one I already read. Okay, here's the second one. Let me close my file drawer, and Aaron does what he does for profit and revenue. The other SPTV creators are only now starting to realize that Aaron's claim of easy money and subscribers was not true, and they are starting to abandon ship. some quietly and some very loudly. The infighting is the stuff of daily content on social media and is mainly what SPTV is hyper focused on. Aaron's flailing about now, desperately stealing any content he can and inciting hate. When inciting hate, Aaron's inciting hate when there is nothing else to talk about. He's so desperate for content and to position himself as some hero that today he posted a text message, and Aaron goes into that. Okay, so here's what pisses me off about this. She says, flatlining, right? Exactly. Yeah, what they've done made a whole lot of money off of their people's story. Yeah, yeah. Our minds are thinking alike. That's why we're both fleas. um, yeah, so his numbers are flatlining. Yeah, no, don't think so. Um, and then he recently had an interview with William Good, Streets LA. His numbers are going through the roof, not only because of his First Amendment auditing, but because he's such an influencer in the SPTV community. How his channel's just growing, and he's a never end. So she was like saying all of these people are in droves leaving the SPTV community and shutting down their channels. Again, I'm going to go back to sptv.space. These channels have, it was a list of maybe 20 in the beginning, and now there's over 200 or so. And not everybody's a protester channel. There's, supporters like me with supportive content. There's traveling channels, there's actual out there protesting channels, there's all kinds of channels, and not everybody is there for the money. We're just there to support one another. Yes, do I want to get monetized? Yes, do I want to make money off of this content? Absolutely. But I don't know that I've ever heard Aaron say, hey, everybody, start a channel and you're gonna kick ass making money. Now, he might have told, and he mentioned that for years he didn't make a dime off of his channel, but he did start to gain momentum. And I'm sure he had conversations with the Noras and the Natalies and the like, saying, "Hey, there's a niche here that can be capitalized on, and try it." I'm sure he didn't make any promises, and he hasn't. And he, none of the creators, Susie, Nora, Liz, nobody's saying, hey, you can't share your channel on my channel. No, they're all telling one another. That's why Fluffer Squirrel and I can't remember the other guy's name created sptv.space, because everybody wants the world to know what's going on. I think probably only a fraction of the people out there are making any kind of income off of their channels. And those that aren't are probably not even offended that they aren't, as long as, like me, this is therapeutic for me. In the situation that I'm in regards to my job and my finances and the GoFundMe, and the being in the financial situation that I'm in, if nothing else, this is therapeutic for me. This gives me the opportunity to talk about my situation personally and to educate people about the things that I might have an opinion on, or a viewpoint on, or what I found in my own research and that type of thing. It gives me something to do, and if I'm not getting paid for it, yeah, that sucks, because I need money. And I would love, they make it so hard to monetize. But if I hadn't have started this, I would still be lurking in Aaron and Nora's and Marilyn's and Liz's and Susie's and everybody that I watch, all the creators, I would still be lurking in their channels. I would still be that supportive foundation for their channels, and would still be pissed off that Stephanie is who she is and saying what she's saying. Um, what was the other thing, about people abandoning ship, some quietly and some loudly? Where's the receipts on that? I mean, everybody, to me, everything's growing. To me, the community's growing and being more effective, whether you're ex-Scientology, second gen, or never in, or whatever. Um, I, if people are stopping their YouTube channel and stopping being part of the community, it might be because they went into it thinking they were going to make money, and that was their primary focus. And the infighting, yes, there is infighting, and there will be infighting in any group. That's going to happen naturally. It happens with the ex Jehovah Witness community online. I mean, I've even reached out to them for financial assistance to their organizations and haven't been given the time of day to even get a response or acknowledge me. And that's probably because um, you know maybe they have their cliques and they do have a lot of infighting in their own little niche and part of the community. Um, so, and there for a while when van life first got off of, first became like a really big thing several years ago with YouTube, there were people being critical about other YouTube content creators. But since then it's I don't, because everybody was trying to be, outdo one another. And nobody could outdo back then Bob Wells. But I mean, he's the godfather of the community. But there were a lot of people, being snarky about certain people's creative techniques, or whether they were full time or part time, or whether they could be considered a van lifer because of the type of vehicle that they had, or what kind of relationship they had, and whether they should be, have a family and live in a vehicle and have kids. I mean, the internal attacks, and whether whether two creators should get together and have a relationship. Oh my God. Um, and so there's, even in van life, there's that infighting. I think now, um, the people that have stuck around, whether they are full-time, streamers and creators or not, those people that have stuck around because it is truly their life, whether it's part-time or full-time, or regardless of their relationship or their type of vehicle, um, uh, they have become more supportive of one another, and get together, and have, they've always had bigger, the rubber tramp rendezvous in Arizona every year, the women's RTR, schoolie palooza. I mean, there's always been, events, but those events, I think, are less let's outdo one another versus let's support one another. So there that infighting is going to be anywhere. And yes, there has been a tremendous amount of infighting within and soap operas recently within the SPTV community, but it's going to happen. We just need to figure out, as supporters and other creators, how not to let that take over the narrative and the focus on the true movement and who really needs to be focused on, and that's the Church of Scientology, and that type of thing. My therapist is not having it. No, she's getting pretty dicey. She's like, yeah, no, I've had enough. You're not paying me enough. You ran out of treats. You won't throw the frisbee. She's she she's a dog. And one of these days, I do desperately need to tell the story about how she was my biggest mistake and I almost gave her back, and how she has proven to probably um, prove me wrong. uh, yeah, she wasn't the dog I necessarily should have gotten and kept, but it ended up being the best dog to have gotten and kept. And I'll have to tell that whole story. Um, but I think I am going to end it now. It's coming on close to an hour. But please feel free to share my GoFundMe, my channel information, that type of thing. Okay, Rabbit, I got to get back to work. Yeah, I got to get going. I got to get ready for my interview later. And don't worry about monopolizing my chat. I would talk even if you weren't here, but I'm glad you're here. So, fellow flea, take care, get back to work, and I'm going to be signing off too. And those of you that watch the stream on the back end on repeat, feel free to leave some comments and let me know what you want to talk about in the future. So I'll let you know how today's job interview goes, and how my GoFundMe campaign is going. And yeah, I'll talk to you soon. I am going to go play with my therapist now. Bye-bye.